The 1990s were filled with sleeper cars, those unassuming rides that packed serious power under the hood. From fast sedans to quiet hatchbacks, these cars hid their true potential, leaving many drivers shocked when they hit the gas. Number 8, 1999, Ford Taurus SHO. The 1999 Ford Taurus SHO isn't just another car you'd find cruising down the street. It's one of the rarest sedans Ford ever made, with only 3,300 units produced. But what makes this car so unique? Well, let's break it down. When Ford dropped this model, the SHO had already built a reputation, and the third generation, from 1996 to 1999, really stood out. Unlike the earlier boxy and traditional models, the 1999 Taurus SHO introduced a smoother, more rounded body design. It wasn't exactly the prettiest thing on the road, but that was part of its charm. It was unassuming, making it the perfect sleeper car. The average person might not have even realized it was something different from the regular Taurus, unless they got a closer look. Well, those features were subtle, but they made a difference. Alloy wheels, sportier seats, and unique bumpers weren't the only surprises. Ford added a wind deflector on the driver's side windshield wiper to keep it in place at high speeds, which was a nice touch for a car with some real power under the hood. Now let's talk about that power, because this SHO stands out. Unlike the other Tauruses, this one came with a V8 engine. Yep, a V8. This was the only generation of the Taurus SHO that had it. A 235 horsepower V8, built with help from Yamaha, made sure the Taurus wasn't just a looker, it could move when needed. But here's where it gets interesting. While the engine was strong, it had its quirks. After about 50,000 miles, some owners started having problems with the engine, particularly the camshaft and sprocket. When this happens, the engine could fail, which is not what you want when you've paid for a car like this. It was a small percentage of cars, only about 1,200 out of 20,000. So not everyone experienced it, but it's something to keep in mind if you ever think about picking up a used one. In terms of rarity, this SHO was already outshone by its history. Sales dropped compared to earlier models, with a peak of 9,000 units in 1997, which led to the discontinuation of the SHO after 1999. Ford had other things in mind, focusing on luxury brands like Lincoln and Jaguar then, and the SHO didn't fit with their new direction. The Ford Taurus SHO might not have been the most popular or reliable, but it's one of the rarest. Its V8 engine and unique features make it a forgotten gem of the 90s. Number 7, 1992, GMC Typhoon. The 1992 GMC Typhoon is one of the rarest SUVs you've probably never heard of. Only 2,200 were made, making it a real hidden marvel. The Typhoon wasn't just another SUV, a fast, powerful machine disguised as a regular car. Imagine a two-door SUV that could keep up with Ferraris. Sounds unreal, right? But it was real. This was the first performance SUV in America, and it had the power to outrun most cars. So, what made this SUV so special? It had the same turbocharged 262 cubic-inch V6 engine as the GMC Cyclone pickup, which was also very powerful. The engine had 280 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. That's enough power to leave many sports cars in the dust. The Typhoon could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.3 seconds. That's faster than some sports cars. The quarter-mile time, 14.1 seconds. Faster than cars like the Acura NSX. But the Typhoon wasn't just fast. It looked tough, too. With wide tires, an aggressive front, and a blacked-out design, it looked like it meant business. Everything was black leather inside, making it clear this was not your typical family SUV. It was built for speed and style and had the power to back it up. To get that crazy speed off the line, drivers had to use a trick. Press the brake with their left foot, push the gas until the boost gauge peaked, and then let go of the brake. Despite all its power and style, the Typhoon remains a mystery to most people. Why? GMC only made a few of them, and it was ahead of its time. At the time, SUVs weren't supposed to be that fast. The Typhoon wasn't great for hauling things, and many people couldn't understand why an SUV needed to be so fast. But for those who drove it, the Typhoon was a game changer. It didn't just break the rules, it created a new standard for what an SUV could do. If you like this, make sure to like and subscribe for more. Number 6, 1995 Ford F-150S VT Lightning. The first-generation Ford F-150 SVT Lightning is one of the rarest pickups you've probably never heard of. Only 11,563 of these trucks were made between 1993 and 1995, making them a hidden treasure in the automotive world. This truck wasn't just about looks. It was designed to give high-performance sports cars a run for their money while still packing the power and capability Ford's F-Series was known for. Ford aimed to compete with GM's high-performance vehicles like the GMC Cyclone and the Chevrolet 454 SS. The Lightning's goal? To give you a Mustang-like performance, but with the toughness of a truck. Under the hood, Ford used a modified 351 cubic inch Windsor Five 8 engine, known for its solid power and torque. The engine produced 240 horsepower and 340 pound-feet of torque. This power was enough to rocket the Lightning from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 7.6 seconds. Keep in mind that this is a truck, not a sports car. Plus, it reaches the top speed of 110 miles per hour, quick for its time. But here's where things get interesting. The Lightning had a 4-speed automatic transmission with an auxiliary oil cooler, giving it an edge in performance. It was built to be fast and agile, challenging the norm for trucks of that era. However, despite its impressive speed, the Lightning wasn't as widely known or appreciated as it should have been. Its rarity makes it more of a mystery to many car enthusiasts today. Ford didn't produce many of them, and the competition in the performance truck market was fierce. In 1995, Ford only produced 2,280 Lightning, further cementing its status as a rare vehicle. This generation of the Lightning didn't have all the fancy features we see today, but it was a proper performance truck that pushed the boundaries of what a pickup could do. Still, it also had a serious advantage over some of its competitors, including the GMC Cyclone, which made the Lightning's performance even more impressive. Despite all this, the F-150 SVT Lightning didn't take off as much as Ford hoped. It stayed under the radar, because, at the time, trucks like these weren't meant to be fast. People weren't ready for a truck that could go toe-to-toe with sports cars. Ford didn't make a lot of them, and as a result, it became more of a forgotten gem. The rarity, combined with the unique combination of speed and toughness, makes the first-gen Lightning one of history's most overlooked performance trucks. In the end, the Lightning was a perfect blend of performance and capability. And if you were lucky enough to own one, you had a truck that genuinely stood out from the crowd. Today, it's still a rare find and a true performance icon, even if most people don't know it. Number 5, 1990, Mercury Cougar XR7. The 1990 Mercury Cougar XR7 is one of those rare cars that doesn't get the attention it deserves. Produced in minimal numbers, only 841 units were made, making it a hidden masterpiece in American muscle cars. If you didn't know about this car, you wouldn't be alone. It's one of those under-the-radar cars that offers an incredible mix of performance and luxury, but doesn't have the fame to back it up. But here's the thing. It's not just another mid-size sedan. This car was designed to go up against some of the toughest competition at the time, and it did so with style and power. Now, don't let the smooth looks fool you. Under the hood, the Cougar XR7 is packing some severe heat. It has a supercharged V6 engine, delivers 210 horsepower, and 315 pound-feet of torque. That means this car can move fast, real fast. And it does it smoothly, thanks to its fully independent suspension and 4-wheel disc brakes with anti-lock control. This isn't a car that cruises. It can handle itself on the road with style and precision. And for those who prefer a little more hands-on driving, the Cougar XR7 even comes with a 5-speed manual transmission. But for the rest of us, there's the option of a 4-speed automatic transmission that delivers smooth shifts every time. What makes the Cougar even more impressive is its automatic adjustable suspension. You can set it to firm mode for sharp cornering or auto for a more comfortable, smooth ride. And here's where things get fancy. The car's computer system can automatically adjust the suspension when it senses heavy load or sharp turns. That means the car stays in control and smooths things out on the fly. It's like having a super bright co-pilot who knows precisely how to handle the car for you. But let's talk about what makes this car rare. It wasn't just fast, it was designed with technology ahead of its time. The supercharged engine works with an intercooler that keeps things cool and efficient, giving you the power you need without the engine getting too hot. And the rear-wheel drive setup, combined with that independent suspension, ensures that the car handles well even when pushed to the limits. like this one. You won't find many sedans from this era that blend comfort, speed, and handling. Despite all this, the Cougar XR7 flew under the radar. People weren't ready for a luxury performance sedan like this, and only a few thousand made it into the hands of buyers. Even though it had everything going for it, power, handling, comfort, it didn't get the recognition it deserved. But suppose you're lucky enough to find one today. In that case, you've stumbled upon an outstanding marvel, a rare piece of automotive history that combines performance and luxury in a way still impressive by modern standards. Number 4, 1995 Ford Thunderbird SC. The 1995 Ford Thunderbird SC is one of those rare cars that doesn't get nearly enough love. Only 574 of these unique cars were made, which makes them as hard to find as a needle in a haystack. But here's the thing, this car was a true sleeper, sneaking in some serious performance under that smooth, stylish exterior. You'd think it was just another cruiser if you weren't paying attention. But once you hit the gas, you'd realize you were wrong. Under the hood, the Thunderbird SC was packing a supercharged V6 engine. This wasn't your typical V6. It came with an Eaton M90 Roots-type supercharger and larger fuel injectors, giving it a punchy 230 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque. And for those who like to shift gears, it came with a 5-speed manual transmission that added a bit of fun for driving enthusiasts. So, while it may have looked like a cruiser, it had the performance to keep up with the best. But let's talk about what makes the Thunderbird SC special. It was ahead of its time. Unlike most American cars, the Thunderbird SC had an independent rear suspension. That means it could handle corners like a pro and smooth the ride, even on rough roads. When most of its competitors were still rocking solid rear axles, the Thunderbird SC offered comfort and performance in one neat package. Now, the Thunderbird SC wasn't perfect. Its design was a mixed bag. The sports seats had high bolsters that didn't scream luxury, and the interior was bland. But let's not forget, this car was built for performance, not showrooms. On the outside, it had that signature Thunderbird look, sleek, low-slung, and sporty. The headlights were slim and horizontal, and the grille and air intake helped keep that supercharged engine cool. It looked like a car that could take on anything, but sadly, it didn't get the attention it deserved. The internal problems at Ford hurt the Thunderbird SC's chances. The car was expensive to make and came in heavier than expected, leading to many controversies. By the time it was released, it had gotten the proper advertising push and ended up being the black sheep of the Thunderbird family. Despite all its great features, it didn't sell as well as it should have, making it one of the most underappreciated cars of the 90s. So, if you ever find yourself stumbling upon a Thunderbird SC today, consider yourself lucky. This rare, underrated gem combines muscle car performance with a smooth, comfortable ride. It's a shame it didn't get the attention it deserved back in the day, but that makes it all the more special now. Number 3, 1993 Oldsmobile Achieva SCX. Most people have never heard of the 1993 Oldsmobile Achieva SCX, but it's a hidden gem that deserves attention. With only 500 units made, this car is harder to find than a rare collector's item. So, why is it so special? Let's discuss what makes this car so unknown and unique. First, let's talk about its performance. The SCX was a sportier version of the regular Achieva, and it wasn't just about looks. This car had a souped-up engine, giving it anywhere from 120 to 60 horsepower. For a compact car, that's pretty impressive. It could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 8.5 to 10 seconds, which was fast. Its top speed reached 120 miles per hour, making it a fun car for anyone who wanted a bit of excitement. Additionally, it came with 2 transmission options, a 3-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual. So, whether you liked shifting your gears or preferred an automatic, the Achieva SCX covered you. And don't forget, it was front-wheel drive, which made handling smooth and predictable, especially for a car that wasn't exactly built for racing. Now, let's talk about the looks. The SCX wasn't trying to scream for attention with flashy body kits or oversized spoilers. Instead, subtle design tweaks made it stand out just enough. It had sportier front and rear bumpers and some side cladding. But it wasn't over the top. It was the perfect balance of sporty and classy, so it flew under the radar. Most people would never guess it was packing some extra performance under the hood. Beyond this, the interior was pretty straightforward but comfortable. It came with a choice of durable fabrics or leather upholstery, and you could even get an optional sunroof. The cabin wasn't as flashy as some other cars on the market then, but it was practical and designed to keep you comfortable on long drives. What made the Achieva SCX even rarer was that it was one of the few compact cars at the time to offer ABS brakes as an option across all its trims. This car had features ahead of its time, but sadly, not enough people knew about it. Ultimately, the 1993 Oldsmobile Achieva SCX may not be a household name, but it's a car that deserves recognition. Its combination of performance, unique design, and limited production makes it a rare find that has quietly earned its place in automotive history. Number 2, 1992 Dodge Spirit RT. The 1992 Dodge Spirit RT is one of those cars you probably don't hear much about, but it's one of the coolest sleeper cars you've never seen. When you first look at it, you might think it's just another boxy, plain sedan, nothing special. But once you pop the hood, everything changes. This car hides some serious power and engineering inside, making it a rare find and a forgotten performance beast. The Spirit RT wasn't your typical family sedan. Underneath its dull exterior, it packed a punch with the Turbo 3 engine, a highly tuned version of Dodge's 135 cubic inch four-cylinder. This engine had many high-tech features, including twin balance shafts, double overhead cams, and a turbocharger. Also, it produced an impressive 224 horsepower, which was seriously strong for a four-cylinder in the early 90s. To put that into perspective, this car could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.8 seconds, faster than a BMW M5 or a Nissan 300ZX Turbo from that time. And this wasn't a lightweight sports car. It weighed over 3,000 pounds and could still hit speeds of 142 miles per hour. That's some serious performance hidden in a vehicle that didn't look like it could do much. Now, here's where the rarity kicks in. Only about 1,400 of these cars were ever made, and chances are fewer than that are still around today. So, if you find one, you're holding onto a piece of automotive history. Despite its performance, the Spirit RT never became a big name. People overlooked it because of its dull, boxy design. It was like a wolf in sheep's clothing, quiet, unassuming, but deadly regarding speed. And here's the twist. While the American market only got the Spirit RT in basic colors like red, white, and silver, the Mexican market had a much cooler version. The cars there had more options like leather seats, a sunroof, and even bigger wheels. They could also be ordered in various colors, not just the few options offered in the US. In Mexico, these cars were sold under the Chrysler name, not Dodge, adding another layer of uniqueness. Despite its impressive specs and low production numbers, the Spirit RT never became the sought-after classic it deserves to be. It's still one of those forgotten gems that flew under the radar. But for those who know about it, the 1992 Dodge Spirit RT is a true American performance legend hiding in plain sight. Number 1, 1994 to 1996, Chevrolet Impala SS. The 1994 to 1996. Chevrolet Impala SS is one of those cars that slipped under the radar, but it's a hidden gem in American muscle. It's not flashy or loud, but you realize how rare and extraordinary it is when you dig into its features. This car didn't just look different, it was built differently, with a low-slung suspension, top-quality shocks, and big disc brakes, making it ready to handle speed like a pro. On the outside, the Impala SS had some unique touches that made it stand out. It sported a clean, monotone grille, body molding, and a spoiler that gave it enough attitude without being too in-your-face. In 1994, it only came in black, which gave it a sleek, understated look. By 1995, Chevy had given buyers more options, in colors like dark cherry metallic and dark gray green. Now, let's talk about power. The heart of the Impala SS is its LT1V8 engine, which generates 260 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque. That's a lot of muscle for a car that wasn't screaming for attention. The engine was mated to a smooth shifting 4-speed automatic transmission, giving you fast acceleration and plenty of power for cruising or quick bursts. It wasn't just about performance. This car was also surprisingly smooth and quiet, making it feel like a grown-up hot rod. What makes this car even more of a rare find is how easy it is to boost its performance. A few simple modifications, like swapping out the computer chip and adding a better exhaust system, can push the horsepower into the 300 range. If you're looking for speed, you can even crank it up to 400 horsepower with additional tweaks. A whole community of Impala SS enthusiasts supports this car, and tons of aftermarket parts are available to make it even faster. Despite its powerful engine and the potential for more speed, the Impala SS never became a household name. It flew under the radar for many, but for those who know it, it's a rare classic car that combines power, comfort, and the potential for customization. Which 90s sleeper car surprised you the most with its hidden power? Let us know in the comments below.
I was just about to close my laptop. I really was. The screen was dimming, my hand was on the mouse, and I had already said goodnight to the room. But then I saw the title, 8 Legendary 90s Sleeper Cars You Never Heard Of, and I stopped. I stopped because I grew up in the 90s. Not as a car person, not really, but I remember the cars. I remember the shapes, the sounds, the way they looked in parking lots and driveways and school pickup lines. I remember my uncle's old sedan that looked like nothing but somehow always won the stoplight race. I remember my neighbor's wagon that had wood paneling on the sides and an engine that roared like a lion. I remember thinking, why does that boring car sound so angry? And now, years later, I finally understand. Those were sleepers. Cars that looked like nothing. Cars that your grandmother would drive to church. Cars that had no business being fast. But they were. They were very, very fast. So I clicked. And now here I am, hours later, because this video just took me on a journey I didn't know I needed. A journey back to the 90s. Back to the days of cassette tapes and baggy jeans and cars that hid their teeth behind a smile. Let me tell you about it. Let me walk you through it. Every single minute of it. The video starts with a montage. 90s footage. Grainy. Warm. The kind of footage that makes you feel nostalgic for a time you didn't even live through. You see Blockbuster video stores. You see pagers. You see corded phones with those long, twisty cords that always got tangled. You see cars. Lots of cars. Boxes on wheels. Beige, brown, maroon, forest green. Cars with pop-up headlights that made you feel like you were in a spaceship when they opened. Cars with cloth seats that stained if you spilled anything. Cars with windows you had to roll down by hand. And then the video cuts to a garage. A real garage. The kind with oil stains on the floor and old calendars on the wall and tools scattered everywhere. And a man is standing there. He's wearing a flannel shirt. He has grease on his hands. He has a smile on his face. And he starts talking. He says, "You want to know what a sleeper is? A sleeper is a car that looks slow but is fast. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a car that your neighbor would never suspect. It's a car that pulls up next to you at a red light and you look over and you think, that's a grocery getter. That's a mom car. That's nothing special." And then the light turns green and that nothing special leaves you in a cloud of dust and embarrassment. That's a sleeper. And the 90s were the golden age of sleepers because car companies were making crazy engines and putting them in boring bodies. They were taking family sedans and station wagons and commuter boxes and shoving race car hearts into them. And nobody knew. Nobody suspected. Until it was too late. I laughed because I have been that person. The one who got left behind at the stoplight. The one who looked over at a beige sedan and thought, yeah, I can take that. And then the light turned green and the beige sedan disappeared into the horizon. And I was left there in my perfectly adequate car, wondering what just happened. That's the magic of sleepers. They humble you. They remind you that you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't judge a car by its paint job. You can't judge anything by how it looks on the outside. The video cuts to the first car, a sedan, a boxy, boring beige sedan. It looks like something a retired accountant would drive to the early bird special. It looks like something your high school principal would park in the reserved spot. It looks like nothing. Absolutely nothing. The man says, "This is the first sleeper. It's a 4-door sedan. It has cloth seats. It has hubcaps, not alloy wheels. It has a radio with a cassette player. It looks like it has 100 horsepower, maybe 120, but it doesn't. It has over 200 horsepower. 200 in a car that looks like this, in a car that weighs almost nothing, in a car that you would never ever suspect. And it's rear-wheel drive in a family sedan from the factory in the 90s. Can you believe that? I couldn't believe it. I looked at the car on the screen. It was so ordinary, so unassuming, so beige. And underneath the hood, hidden like a secret, was enough power to embarrass sports cars. Enough torque to pin you to your seat. Enough speed to get you in trouble. And nobody knew. Nobody except the people who built it, and the people who drove it, and the people who got left behind at the stoplight. The man says, the engineers who built this car knew what they were doing. They knew that nobody would expect it. They knew that the car would fly under the radar. They knew that it would be ignored by the magazines and the car shows and the collectors. And that was the point. That was the beauty of it. It wasn't for everyone. It was for the people who knew, the people who did their homework, the people who read the forums and the brochures and the obscure car magazines. It was a secret handshake, a hidden club, and if you were in the club, you knew. If you saw another one of these cars on the road, you nodded. You knew. You were family. I thought about that, about secret clubs and hidden knowledge, about the things that only a few people know, about the pleasure of being in on the secret. That's what sleepers are. They're secrets. They're inside jokes. They're winks across the parking lot. They're the thrill of knowing something that other people don't. And in the 90s, before the internet made everything accessible, before you could Google anything in 2 seconds, secrets were precious. Secrets were currency. Secrets were how you showed that you were in the know. The video cuts to the second car. A wagon. Wood paneling on the sides. Fake wood. The kind that looked like it belonged in a suburban driveway next to a minivan. The kind that your mom would drive to the grocery store. The kind that had a third-row seat that faced backwards so you could wave at the cars behind you. The man says, "Look at this. Just look at it. It's a wagon. It has wood paneling. It has roof rails. It has room for the dog and the kids and the luggage. It has no business being fast. None. But underneath that wood paneling, underneath that boring exterior, is an engine that will blow your mind. An engine that was designed for sports cars. An engine that could push this wagon to 60 miles per hour in less than 6 seconds. 6 seconds in a wagon in the 90s. That was faster than most sports cars. Faster than Porsches. Faster than Ferraris. Faster than anything with 2 seats and a pedigree. And nobody knew. Because who would suspect a wagon? Who would look at a wagon and think, that thing is fast? Nobody. That's who. And that's why it's a sleeper. I laughed again. Because I remember those wagons. I remember sitting in the back of one, facing backwards, watching the road disappear behind me. I remember the smell of the cloth seats, and the sound of the radio playing something my parents liked. I remember thinking that it was the most boring car in the world. And now I find out that underneath that boring exterior was a beast, a monster, a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I never knew. I never suspected. Because I was a kid. Because I didn't care about engines or horsepower or quarter-mile times. I just cared about getting to the pool and the mall and my friend's house. But the adults who knew, they looked at that wagon and they smiled. They knew the secret. They were in on the joke. The man continues, you have to understand the 90s. The 90s were a weird time for cars. On one hand, you had the bubble economy. On the other hand, you had the beginning of the SUV craze. On one hand, you had fuel efficiency standards getting tighter. On the other hand, you had engineers who refused to give up on performance. So they got creative. They got sneaky. They took the boring cars, the cars that nobody paid attention to, and they put the good stuff inside. They put the big engines, the stiff suspensions, the upgraded brakes, and they kept the outside boring. They kept the steel wheels and the cloth seats and the beige paint because they knew car enthusiasts would find them. They knew that the people who cared would do their research. They knew that the sleepers would become legends. And they were right. The video cuts to the third car, a compact, a small, boxy, unremarkable compact. The kind of car that college students drive because it's cheap and reliable and gets good gas mileage. The kind of car that you see 1,000 of on the road and never look at twice. The man says this car had a turbocharger from the factory in a cheap economy car in the 90s. And it wasn't just a little turbo. It was a big turbo. The kind of turbo that gives you boost and lag and that wonderful addictive whoosh when it spools up. And that turbo took this little Econobox and turned it into a rocket. A pocket rocket. The kind of car that surprised everyone. The kind of car that made you laugh out loud when you floored it. Because you couldn't believe that something this small, this cheap, this ordinary could go this fast. But it could. Oh, it could. I remember those pocket rockets. I remember seeing them at the local car meets, parked next to the muscle cars and the imports and the exotics. And they looked out of place. They looked like they had wandered in by mistake. But then the owner would pop the hood, and there it was. The turbo, the intercooler, the upgraded fuel system, the custom exhaust. And the muscle car guys would stop laughing. They would stop pointing. They would stop smirking. Because they knew that this little Econobox could beat them. On the street, on the track, anywhere. And that was humbling. That was the beauty of sleepers. They humbled you. The man says the 90s were also the era of the sports sedan, but not the obvious ones, not the ones with the badges and the spoilers and the big wheels, the sleepers. The ones that looked like rental cars, but drove like race cars. The ones that had 4 doors and a trunk and room for the family, but also had a engine that screamed. Those were the best. Because you could drive your kids to school in the morning, and then you could drive to the track in the afternoon. And nobody would know. Nobody would suspect. You were just a dad in a sedan. That's all they saw. But you knew. I thought about that. About the duality. About having 2 lives. The public life where you're just a regular person doing regular things, and the private life where you're something else. Something faster. Something more exciting. Something that only you and a few others know about. That's the appeal of sleepers. They let you be 2 people at once. The boring person that the world sees, and the speed demon that only comes out when the road is empty and the light is green. The video cuts to the 4th car. It's a coupe. Small, 2 doors, pop-up headlights. It looks sporty, but not too sporty. It looks like something a young professional might drive. The man says, this one is special. This one had all-wheel drive in a small coupe in the 90s. That was unheard of. All-wheel drive was for trucks and SUVs and rally cars, not for little coupes, but this one had it, and it was brilliant. It gave you traction in the rain and the snow and the dry pavement. It let you put all that power down without spinning the wheels. It made you feel like a hero in a car that looked like nothing, a hero that nobody expected. I remember that coupe. I remember seeing one in a parking lot once, and I thought it was cute. Cute. That's what I thought. And now I find out that it had all-wheel drive and a turbocharged engine and suspension that was tuned by people who knew what they were doing. It wasn't cute. It was a weapon. A secret weapon. A wolf in sheep's clothing. And I had no idea. The man laughs. He says, that's the thing about sleepers. They're not for everyone. They're not for the people who want attention. They're not for the people who want to be seen. They're for the people who want to drive, who want to feel the road, who want the thrill of acceleration without the hassle of being noticed. They're for the introverts of the car world, the people who love driving but hate the spotlight. And in the 90s, there were a lot of those people. And the car companies built cars for them. Cars that were fast but discreet. Cars that were capable but humble. Cars that were everything you wanted and nothing you expected. The video cuts to the fifth car. A sedan again, but different. More angular, more aggressive, but still subtle. Still something you might overlook. The man says, this one had a V6, but not just any V6, a twin-turbo V6. Twin turbos, in a sedan, in the 90s. That was crazy. That was insane. That was the kind of engine you put in a supercar, not in a family hauler. But they did it. And the result was a car that could embarrass almost anything on the road. A car that looked like a rental, but drove like a dream. A car that made you giggle every time you pressed the gas pedal. I tried to imagine what that must feel like. Driving a boring sedan, surrounded by boring traffic, and then pressing the gas and feeling the twin turbos spool up and the car lunge forward like it's been startled awake. The sudden rush of power. The sound of the engine changing from a quiet hum to an angry roar. The way the scenery blurs past the windows. And then, just as quickly, slowing down, blending back into traffic, becoming invisible again. Nobody knows what just happened. Nobody suspects. It's your secret, your private thrill, your hidden joy. The man says, the problem with sleepers is that they're hard to find now. They're rare, they're collectible. People have figured out the secret. People know what these cars are capable of, so the prices have gone up. The cars that used to be dirt cheap are now expensive. The cars that used to be overlooked are now sought after. The sleepers are awake, and that's a shame. Because the magic of a sleeper is being underestimated, being overlooked, being the underdog. And when everyone knows, when everyone understands, the magic fades. It's just another fast car. I felt a little sad hearing that, because I love underdogs. I love the things that nobody notices. The quiet ones, the overlooked ones, the ones that have something special hidden inside. And when they get discovered, when they get famous, something is lost, something precious, something that can never be recovered. The video cuts to the sixth car, a hatchback, small, practical. The kind of car you see at the grocery store and the post office and the school pickup line. The man says, this is the ultimate sleeper, the one that fools everyone, because it's a hatchback. It's small. It's cheap. It's the kind of car that teenagers drive to their first job. And nobody expects it to be fast. But it is. It is very, very fast. Because it has an engine that was designed for a much more expensive car. An engine that was shoehorned into this tiny hatchback by engineers who knew exactly what they were doing. And the result is a car that looks like a toaster, but drives like a rocket. A car that will make you laugh out loud the first time you floor it. A car that will make you look for excuses to drive. Anywhere, anytime, just to feel that rush. I laughed again, because I love the idea of a toaster that drives like a rocket. I love the absurdity of it, the impossibility, the sheer glorious nonsense of putting a race car engine into an economy hatchback. That's the kind of thing that only happens in the 90s. That's the kind of thing that engineers do when they're bored and brilliant and just a little bit mischievous. That's the kind of thing that makes sleepers so special. The man says, if you ever see one of these hatchbacks on the road, look closer. Look at the wheels. Look at the exhaust. Look at the way it sits. A little lower. A little meaner. If you know what to look for, you can tell. You can spot the sleeper. But most people don't know. Most people just see a cheap hatchback. That's the beauty. That's why sleepers are legends. The video cuts to the seventh car. A luxury sedan. Leather seats, wood trim. The kind of car that executives drive to meetings. The kind of car that has a quiet, refined, dignified presence. The man says, this one is different. This one is a luxury sleeper. It looks like it's for people who value comfort over speed. But underneath that leather and wood is a beast. An engine that was built for the Autobahn. An engine that could push this heavy sedan to speeds that would get you arrested in most countries. And the best part? It's quiet. It's smooth. You don't hear the engine. You don't feel the speed. You just look down at the speedometer and realize you're going way, way faster than you thought. That's the luxury sleeper. It coddles you while it breaks the law. I thought about that. About being in a quiet, comfortable, leather-lined cabin. Listening to classical music on the radio, sipping coffee from a thermos, and realizing that you're going 100 miles an hour without even noticing. That's terrifying and wonderful, and exactly the kind of thing that only a sleeper can do. The man says these luxury sleepers are the most dangerous because they don't feel fast. They isolate you from the road. They smooth out the bumps and muffle the sounds and make you forget that you're piloting a 2-ton missile. And that's when you get in trouble. That's when you look down and realize you're going double the speed limit. That's when you thank the engineers for the big brakes and the stability control. Because you're going to need them. The video cuts to the 8th and final car. A coupe again, but older, more angular. The man says this is the one that started it all. The original sleeper. The car that made people realize that you couldn't trust what you saw. The car that looked like a grandpa car, but drove like a muscle car. And it's from the 90s, but it's based on an earlier design. It's the bridge between the old school sleepers and the new school sleepers. And it's still one of the best, because it's simple. It's honest. It's a car that doesn't apologize for what it is. A wolf in sheep's clothing. A legend. He stands back, looks at the car on the screen. There's affection in his eyes. Respect. He says, that's the 8 sleepers. 8 cars from the 90s that you probably never heard of. 8 cars that look like nothing but are everything. 8 cars that remind us that you can't judge a book by its cover. That the best things are often hidden. That the underdog is worth cheering for. So next time you're at a stoplight, next to a beige sedan, or a wood-paneled wagon, or a cheap hatchback, remember. Remember that it might be a sleeper. It might be a wolf. It might leave you in its dust. And if it does, don't be embarrassed. Be grateful. Because you just witnessed a legend. A legend that you never heard of. Until now. He smiles. The video ends. The screen goes dark. And I'm just sitting here. In the dark. My living room. My blanket. My cold tea. My tired eyes. Thinking about sleepers. About the 90s. About the cars that fooled everyone. About the engineers who built them. About the drivers who loved them. About the secrets that are now known. I think about my uncle's sedan. The one that always won the stoplight race. I never asked him about it. I never knew. I just thought he was lucky. Or aggressive. Or maybe the other drivers were slow. But now I wonder. Now I wonder if it was a sleeper. If he knew. If he was in on the secret. If he was smiling behind the wheel, watching the other drivers disappear in his rearview mirror, laughing to himself because nobody knew. Nobody suspected. Nobody understood. I think about my neighbor's wagon, the one with the wood paneling and the angry roar. I thought it was broken. I thought something was wrong with it. Now I know that it wasn't broken. It was just a sleeper. A wolf in sheep's clothing. A wagon that had no business being fast, but was. And I never knew. I never suspected. Until now. I think about the 90s, about the music and the clothes and the movies and the cars, about the way the world felt before the internet and social media and smartphones, about the secrets that were easier to keep, about the hidden things that only a few people knew. It wasn't a better time, but it was a different time. A time when you could have a car that looked like nothing and drove like something and nobody would ever know, unless you told them, unless you showed them, unless you left them behind at the stoplight. That's the video. That's the commentary. That's what I've been sitting with for the past however long. 30 minutes, maybe more. I lost track. Because this video made me think about things I hadn't thought about in years. about underdogs and secrets and the joy of being underestimated, about the beauty of something that looks ordinary but is extraordinary, about the thrill of knowing something that other people don't. And now I think I'll go to bed, but I won't sleep. Not right away. I'll lie there staring at the ceiling, thinking about sleepers, about the ones I missed, about the ones I never knew, about the ones that are still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to surprise someone, waiting to humble someone, waiting to leave someone in the dust. And maybe, just maybe, I'll start looking at the cars in the parking lot, at the cars at the stoplight, at the cars that look like nothing, because you never know. You never know when you're sitting next to a legend that you never heard of until now. Good night. For real this time. No more scrolling, no more videos. Just me and the ceiling, and the memory of beige sedans and wood-paneled wagons and hatchbacks that drive like rockets. And the hope that somewhere, in a garage or a driveway or a parking lot, there's another sleeper waiting to be discovered. Another underdog waiting for its moment. Another legend waiting to be remembered.